In Genesis 39, if you keep on reading, in verse 20 it says, while Joseph was in the prison, the Lord was with him. He showed him kindness, and he granted him favor in the eyes of the prison warden. So the warden put Joseph in charge of all of those held in the prison, and he was made responsible for all that was done there. The warden paid no attention to anything under Joseph's care, because the Lord was with Joseph and gave him success in whatever he did. The warden did not worry about anything, only about what he ate. Now what I want you to realize is that in his prison, in this filthy place, in this horrible Torah place, he doesn't just fall apart and become crazy and go insane because of the four walls. He begins to find favor even in the warden because of his faithfulness. We don't know what he did that the warden would see favor on him. Maybe he saw him praying. Maybe he saw that he didn't fight. Maybe he saw that he wasn't swearing. Maybe he saw that he was different than all the other prisoners. But because of his faithfulness to his God, and not questioning his God, and living the way he should be, he was put in charge of the prison, cleans the place up. And it was run more efficiently, if you could read that passage, than anyone had ever read it. The Pharaoh would even take notice of the warden and say, this Joseph is a blessing to him. He is in prison because of his scorned, because he has scorned a woman, or a woman who is scorned. She gave him advances that he would not entertain. After being thrown into a pit because of his brother's jealousy, he is dragged to Egypt, to the slave market, because of some other man's greed. From there he is sold into slavery because of another man's need. And now he's in prison because of a bad woman's deed. I can't see her right now, but I'm looking at her. Some of us can relate to being in trouble because of someone else's greed, someone else's need, or because of someone else's deed. Some of us sitting here this morning did time for a crime that we didn't commit. Some of you are paying child support for a crime that you didn't commit. But you have choices in any and all of those situations. Will you become bitter? Will you resent people? Will you resent everyone for the rest of your life? Will you just be an angry, bitter person who blames the man because of your situation? We learned something at this pastor's retreat. The speaker was the president of Northwest College, where Andy and I got our bachelor's degrees. And he talked about a theology of immigration. He said the poorest Hispanics in America don't come from Mexico. The poorest Hispanics in America don't come from Central and South America. The poorest Hispanics are the Hispanics that can trace their lineage back to the Hispanics that were here before California was taken over by the Anglos. It's the native Hispanics, the native Mexicans that live here, that are the poorest, because they have spent their whole life blaming the man for keeping them down. He talked about a theology of voluntary immigrant and non-voluntary immigrant. He goes, the non-voluntary immigrant was brought here as a slave. The non-voluntary immigrant came here fleeing his country because of political persecution, seeking asylum. He goes, those people are always 50% poorer than the ones that come here voluntarily looking for a better future. Those that come here voluntarily, that immigrate to the United States voluntarily, usually have kids that are more educated and do better than they do. But those who come here by force blame the man that says they keep them down. They plant that bitterness and that root in their children. And their children don't even do as good as their parents did, because their parents implanted in them the bitterness against the man. What do you do? Maybe you made a mistake when you were a teenager. Maybe you married the wrong person. And maybe you're on another marriage. Are you going to be bitter right now and blame everybody else for the situation that you find yourself in right now? Or are you going to say, my God who saw me through that will see me through this, and I'll do better than I did before? Now, will you be destroyed internally, physically, emotionally, mentally, because of somebody else's need, deed, or greed in your life? Will you live a life that will be destroyed on the inside because of your constant need or desire for revenge or payback? would have become bitter in there and just said, I got to get out of here. I'm going to get that lady. I'm going to get them. He didn't do that. He didn't let their deed define who he was. Will you just give up? Give up on life. Become hopeless and homeless and defeated. Or will you say, the God who brought me into this world will see me through this? What we all need to do is learn from it. We need to make sure. You need to make sure that you are more careful the next time you're in that same situation again. Don't let other people's greed, don't let other people's needs, don't let other people's deeds define who you are. Learn from it, get over it, and get better because of it. Joseph's faith in Joseph's God. Listen to me. Joseph's faith and Joseph's God. Somebody say Joseph's faith. Joseph's faith. Now say, and Joseph's God. Joseph's God would give him favor in the middle of this situation that would have driven other men completely mad. You have the same God that Joseph has. You serve the same God. And if he saw him through that, he gave him favor that he'd come out on top, he could do the same for him that he did for him. He'll do it for you and I. Be faithful in whatever situation in life you find yourself in, knowing that God will see you through. Because of his faithfulness, God grants him favor. And he has a divine appointment.